When it comes to intelligence, no matter how advanced your communication interception systems or high-resolution satellite imagery are, the real challenge is verifying the information. Technology alone can't provide complete certainty. To ensure reliable insights, intelligence agencies cross-reference multiple sources, triangulate data, and rely on real-time updates, especially from the ground. This is why human intelligence is so crucial. Agencies recruit individuals who can offer valuable on-the-ground perspectives, ensuring the intelligence remains accurate, timely, and relevant. Turkey has made significant investments in broadening the operational reach of its intelligence agency, MIT. Through the use of advanced technology and an extensive human network, it gathers intelligence from various regions in its immediate vicinity. One of its primary targets? Greece, especially its military. Between August and November 2020, Turkey and Greece came dangerously close to full-scale military conflict. Tensions escalated as both nations deployed their naval assets across the Aegean and eastern Mediterranean, in response to the Turkish seismic survey vessel, Oruç Reis, mapping potential oil and gas resources in disputed waters south of the Greek island of Kastellorizo. One of the most dramatic moments of the crisis occurred in August when Greek and Turkish frigates collided, leaving a large hole in the Turkish warship's starboard. After months of rising tension, Turkey's Oruç Reis returned to port on November 30, 2020, signaling a temporary de-escalation, though the dispute over the region's resources remains unresolved. Amid the visible military escalation, another secret battle was unfolding. The war of intelligence gathering. While both sides were focused on military posturing, behind the scenes, Turkey and Greece were engaged in a covert struggle to gather crucial information on each other's movements, capabilities, and strategies. This hidden war was just as intense, with espionage, surveillance, and cyber activities playing a key role in the unfolding crisis. In addition to ground monitoring stations and systems integrated into their military assets for intercepting communications, both countries have access to high-resolution imagery obtained from satellites and unmanned aerial vehicles. These assets are capable of conducting reconnaissance, surveillance, and intelligence missions over extended periods, providing full coverage of their areas of responsibility. However, during periods of heightened tension, the intelligence gathering process becomes much more urgent, and obtaining near real-time information on an adversary's movements and available assets is crucial for gaining an advantage. And in the summer of 2020, Turkey's human intelligence sources were fully active in securing that advantage. Sainbahattin Bayram, a 36-year-old married man and father of 2 minor children, was appointed as a contracted secretary at the Turkish Consulate General in Rhodes in April 2012. Born in Sostes, a village about 10 kilometers west of Komotini in northern Greece, he pursued his studies at Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, where he graduated from the Department of Mathematics. Following his graduation, and before starting his career, he served for 12 months in the Greek army. At first glance, Bayram might have seemed like a typical government worker, but in reality, he was deeply embedded in a covert operation, one that spanned far beyond his diplomatic duties. Bayram, however, was already known to the Greek authorities. In February 2017, the Greek National Intelligence Agency launched an investigation after they received information about his Facebook profile, which advocated for an independent Western Thrace, featured nationalist Turkish symbols, and clearly expressed anti-Greek sentiments. Greek authorities took no action against Bayram, allowing him to continue his work at the consulate in Rhodes. But by the summer of 2020, tensions between the two countries were high. Both Greece and Turkey had their militaries on alert, with fleets scattered across the Aegean and eastern Mediterranean. In this tense situation, Turkey's MIT needed all the intelligence it could gather, and Bayram was set to play a key role in the effort. A few months back, in April 2020, 52-year-old, Mehmet Nizamettin, arrived in Rhodes to work as a chef aboard the ship Stavros, which operates on the Rhodes-Castellorizo route. Mehmet, originally from the village of Sarpes in northern Greece, resided in Komotini with his wife and son, but due to his work as a chef, he frequently took employment in various parts of the country. Spy recruitment often begins subtly, with seemingly innocent interactions that slowly evolve into something much more covert. It's not always about secret meetings in dark alleys or dramatic exchanges. Sometimes, it starts in the most unsuspecting ways, with simple conversations, a shared meal or casual questions, requests for help, or simply a favor. In the world of espionage, trust is carefully cultivated, and what begins as an innocent connection can spiral into something far more complex. Bayram first became aware of Mehmet through a neighbor of his in Komotini, who had visited Rhodes for a wedding. During the trip, the neighbor mentioned that Mehmet was living and working in Rhodes, which piqued Bayram's interest. Seizing the opportunity, Bayram reached out and successfully obtained Mehmet's phone number. Without hesitation, he contacted Mehmet and arranged their first meeting at the Aegean cafe in Rhodes. Though their conversation began with casual topics, family, their shared hometown of Komotini, and various current issues, Bayram's true aim quickly became apparent. He was focused on building rapport and earning Mehmet's trust. At the time, Mehmet was working as a chef on a ship, his first experience in that role, and was in need of guidance. Recognizing an opportunity, Bayram positioned himself as someone with influential connections who could offer support. However, Bayram didn't keep the conversation entirely casual for long. He soon shifted the discussion to a key area of interest, asking Mehmet if he knew any Greek Muslims working on ships that traveled to and from Castellorizo, suggesting he wanted to make contact with them. This was a clear attempt to assess whether Mehmet could be a valuable source of information or a connection to other individuals who might serve his interests. Over the course of 4 meetings, including one dinner at Bayram's father-in-law's house, Bayram continued to strengthen his relationship with Mehmet, gradually earning his trust. During these meetings, Bayram increasingly shifted the conversation toward more sensitive subjects. He began asking questions about the Greek military, attempting to gather intelligence on military operations and personnel. One week after their initial meeting, Bayram requested another rendezvous with Mehmet. During this meeting, Bayram asked Mehmet to provide detailed information about the positions of the warships stationed in Castellorizo, along with their identification numbers. He specifically requested that all communication be carried out solely through the WhatsApp application for privacy. A few days later, Bayram called for another meeting, this time near the Rhodes Aquarium. There, he inquired if Mehmet had encountered any Greek warships during his voyage to Castellorizo and while the ship was stationed there. Mehmet confirmed that they had indeed crossed paths with Greek military vessels. Then, after another week, Bayram insisted on meeting again. This time, his requests grew more explicit and urgent. He asked Mehmet to inform him each time he was in Castellorizo and to provide regular updates on the positions of warships, their identification numbers, and the number of soldiers aboard the vessel on which he worked. Furthermore, Bayram demanded that Mehmet report the schedule of guard changes in Castellorizo, take photos of the military vessels in the area during the summer months, and note the equipment carried on those ships. Additionally, Bayram requested that Mehmet eavesdrop on conversations among military personnel traveling on his ship, using his mobile phone to record any useful information. He also wanted Mehmet to observe the ships in the port, particularly focusing on whether helicopters were present aboard any of the vessels. The passenger ship Stavros, that Mehmet worked on, would arrive in Rhodes every Friday at 5 p.m., remain docked throughout Saturday, and depart on Sunday. It also made overnight stops in Castellorizo every Tuesday and Wednesday. This set schedule played a crucial role in the operation, providing the perfect cover for their covert meetings and exchanges. Initially, Mehmet would send the daily recorded material to Bayram via WhatsApp, as they had agreed. However, as their collaboration progressed, they began holding more in-person meetings every Saturday, when the ship was docked overnight in Rhodes. The shift to additional in-person meetings was likely driven by a need for increased security, efficiency, and trust. Face-to-face meetings allowed them to minimize digital traces, exchange intel more quickly and clearly, and build a stronger sense of trust. Additionally, meetings in public spaces offered a layer of plausible deniability, helping them avoid suspicion and maintain the necessary discretion. Even though both men spoke Greek fluently, they communicated with each other in Turkish. Using Turkish allowed them to communicate more naturally and securely, especially when discussing sensitive information. It also helped reinforce the covert nature of their operation. The meetings took place at various cafes in the aquarium area of the island, a location deliberately chosen by Bayram. The location's proximity to Turkey allowed him to connect to Turkish mobile networks, enabling him to transmit critical information without leaving a trace. Bayram would meet with Mehmet, who would hand over the updates in person, and once the exchange was complete, Bayram would use the Turkish network to contact his sources back in Turkey, securely passing along the updates that Mehmet had provided. Mehmet provided information to Bayram in person on at least 2 occasions during October 2020. However, their communication didn't stop there. In fact, the exchanges between them were far more frequent. The two men kept in daily contact, using phone calls, SMS, and messaging apps such as Facebook Messenger, Viber, and WhatsApp. Between October 1st and December 1st, they communicated 61 times, with many of those conversations occurring before Mehmet's ship departed for Castellorizo, as his phone connection would trigger the communications antenna at the port of Rhodes. Mehmet would also contact Bayram after he arrived in Castellorizo. They exchanged information 4 times while he was on the island, including on October 13th, 2 conversations on November 1st, November 3rd, and November 19th, with an additional SMS on the latter date. Mehmet maintained a continuous stream of information towards Bayram, who would contact in that period a significant number of different phone numbers in Turkey, to report on the received intelligence. The communication between the two men was both detailed and thorough. Bayram requested specific information regarding the type and identification characteristics of Greek Navy vessels, including the weapons they carried. On November 3, 2020, at 7:55, Bayram contacted Mehmet with a message: "The vessel P-32 is not visible at the location. Is the number correct?" Mehmet replied at 8:20 p.m., stating, "It is not completely visible because it is dark." Later that night, at 9:50 p.m., the 36-year-old secretary began browsing a Greek Navy website on his phone, likely searching for more details about the vessel. 3 days later, on November 6, Bayram and Mehmet had their final in-person meeting. They met at Papu's supermarket on Canada Street, and from there, proceeded to a quiet lunch at a restaurant in the Analepsi neighborhood of Rhodes. Bayram once again instructed Mehmet to communicate via WhatsApp and to delete all previous messages that primarily detailed the movements of Greek Navy ships around Castellorizo. The following day, November 7, Mehmet sent intelligence to Bayram for the final time concerning the Greek Navy's ships and infantry. Among the materials sent were 3 photos of Greek Navy vessels, taken on November 6, from an elevated position, clearly revealing their equipment and armament. The last phone call Mehmet made to Bayram took place on November 19. With Turkey's seismic vessel, Oruç Reis, returning to Antalya port on November 29, and both fleets pulling out of the Aegean, the risk of escalation dropped. Mehmet and Bayram thought they successfully completed their operation, staying under the radar for months. But despite their best efforts, they weren't as invisible as they believed. Greek state security and national intelligence service teams had been continuously monitoring the two men, with a particular focus on Mehmet. A team was tracking his movements not only on land but also during his trips aboard the ship. One of Mehmet's assignments was to gather intel by eavesdropping on conversations between soldiers aboard the ship, all while maintaining the cover of a naive, inquisitive cook, asking probing questions to the military personnel. During one such conversation with a Greek army officer, things began to unravel. The officer sensed something was off and immediately reported the suspicious behavior to the relevant authorities. On the night of December 11, Hellenic police executed a coordinated operation, raiding both the chef's cabin aboard the ship and the home of the Turkish consulate secretary in Rhodes. The two men were swiftly taken into custody. During the raids, investigators seized 8 computers, 6 USB drives, and 4 mobile phones from the secretary's residence, crucial evidence that would soon reveal the full extent of their operation. The investigation of the seized evidence revealed photos of Greek military vessels on both Mehmet and Bayram's phones. Mehmet's phone contained images of a Coast Guard patrol vessel at the port of Castellorizo, as well as military vessels, Coast Guard ships, and submarines docked at the port of Rhodes. Bayram's phone held additional photos of Greek military vessels, both in harbors and at sea. Around 2,500 photos and electronic files related to Greek military targets had been exchanged between the two men, a number showing the depth of their operation. A year later after their arrest, on December 15, 2021, the Rhodes Mixed Jury Court convicted the two men of committing espionage. While the court acknowledged their previously law-abiding lives as a mitigating factor, the seriousness of their crimes led to sentences of 5 years in prison for the Turkish consulate secretary, and 4 years for the chef.